Hello and welcome back for the next episode of Dominion 102. In this episode, we're going to talk about the value of trashing. The 10 cards we start in our deck with, the Coppers and Estates, well, they're all good for something, so why would you want to trash them? Now, I've mentioned before that they're all bad cards, and if you have better cards in your deck, you'll probably be doing better. I want to take that example to the extreme, and I want to construct a deck where we trash all of our 10 starting cards and see what kind of cool stuff we can do with it. So, with my 3, I'm going to get a Chapel. This is the strongest and the fastest Chapel trashing available in the game. And then with the 4, I'm going to get a Silver. In fact, regardless of your opening split, you can always open with Chapel Silver, and it's quite often a good idea. And what we're going to do is aim to buy good money cards and get the rest of the cards out of the deck completely. Now, there's a delicate way to do that. You want to make sure that you don't leave yourself with so little money that you can't buy at least a silver. If we'd trashed all of our cards and not bought another silver, we'd have a problem. Here, we'll Chapel, trash all of these cards. They're all starting cards, so they all go. And our turn's over. Next hand, we got 5. Let's take a silver. Shuffle, draw our next hand. Well, we've got 6, or we could Chapel away 2 coppers. I'm going to go ahead and buy a gold here. Of course, if you were really going for aggressive chapeling, you could Chapel the coppers and buy a silver if you wanted. Here's 5, we'll get another silver. And 5 more. We're going to go ahead and Chapel the copper and buy a gold. Hopefully, our Chapel will be meeting up with the rest of our coppers shortly. Since our deck is pretty small at this point, that's more likely to happen. Here we go. Well, we've got $10. We've already gotten somewhere, even though there's quite a few coppers left in the deck. $10, let's go ahead and buy a gold. And here's 5 with the Chapel. Let's just go ahead and trash the 3 coppers and be done with our turn. So, why don't we take a look at the trash pile for a moment at this point. All 3 estates and 5 of our coppers are in the trash pile. So the only 2 of our starting cards that are remaining in the deck are 2 coppers. All of the rest of the cards we've got, let's just take a look. 2 coppers, a Chapel. Those are not really that good for getting a lot of money. But check this out. We've got 3 golds and we've got 3 silvers. So if you think about it, the money density in our deck is pretty darn good. It's probably at least, I don't know, an average of at least $2 a card. And that's pretty good for getting the provinces. So any given hand, I mean, look at this, we got $10. We didn't even have to try. So let's go ahead and buy a province. We should be able to buy lots of provinces since we can generate lots of money pretty quickly. Here we go, we've got 7. Let's just Chapel the 2 coppers and get a silver. That'll increase our money density. And here we go, we've got 10 again. Let's go ahead and buy another province and shuffle. So our money density is really high, but you'll notice that as we add these provinces to the deck, here we go, we've got 9, another province. As we add provinces to the deck, our money density is going to fall a little faster than normal. Here's 8, get a province. That's pretty good. Now our deck is still really nice. We've got 3 golds and 4 silvers, but now we've got 5 dead cards. So, this strategy, Chapel Big Money, looks quite nice. We got all 10 starting cards out of our deck. Our money density was so high we were able to generate lots of money using just good treasure cards. And that's because we got all the bad cards out of the deck. Now you can think of this in terms of money density. Once we get the bad cards out, our money density is very high. But of course, the money density goes down quickly once we buy green cards. So that's something that you need to consider. You're going to be able to get up pretty fast, but you're also going to stall pretty quickly. So if 4 provinces isn't enough to end the game for you, you might have an issue there. So why else would we want to get rid of all these 10 starting cards? Well, remember the Village Smithy engine we looked at? It was pretty nice. A lot of times you could draw your whole deck and do really cool stuff, but it wasn't very reliable. So let's open Chapel Silver again and see what Chapel can do for that kind of a deck. What we want to do is, once again, get all of our starting cards out and get a lot of villages and smithies. So we'll Chapel away our entire hand here. And with 6, let's just go ahead and buy a village. We're going to buy a bunch of villages and smithies, and we're just going to see how this kind of a deck feels so that we know that it's more reliable than with the starting cards in. So here with 5, we'll buy a smithy, shuffle again. Shuffle a lot with these really thin decks. There's 5 cards. I'll play the village first, draw a card, then the smithy, draw 3 cards. Let's go ahead and play this chapel, and we'll get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And for 3, let's just buy another village. So now our deck is pretty small at this point. 5 cards, village, village again, smithy. Well, we've drawn our entire deck, but play it anyway. Chapel. Let's just get rid of 1 copper, and we'll go ahead and buy a silver at this point. Now, take a look at our entire deck here. We only have 3 of these action cards. 2 of them are villages, 1 is a smithy, and then 4 cards that are, you could think of them as payload cards. They can really be anything. The chapel has to be a dead card eventually, because it's not very good for anything once you've trashed out the starting cards. But these 3 cards could be anything. They could be treasures, they could be golds, they could be cool action cards that you want to play every turn. But just with this thin deck, we're going to get a feel of how the deck feels and how reliable it is. So with a 5-card hand, we got a village, and we got a smithy. We've drawn our deck, and we have plenty of actions to do what we want with. In fact, the odds are that when you have lots of villages and smithies, and not so many other cards, you're going to be able to kick off your turn with, at least a village and at least a smithy to start drawing a lot every time. So this chapel really did a lot of great things for this kind of an engine-y deck. And it's important to note the presence of trashing in any kingdom if you're planning to build an engine, because it's going to make it a lot more reliable. You'll be able to do cool things every turn instead of most turns. And the more of the starting cards you have to keep in your deck, the less reliable you're going to be. Now the last thing I want to talk about these very thin decks is related to what happens when you start to green. Now remember, in the Chapel Big Money deck, each green card we bought decreased our money density a lot more than if we had just ignored the chapel and kept these coppers. That's because it was just so high and we brought it down, and there were few cards to sort of buffer that effect. It's going to be similar with Village and Smithy. So when you build a very trim deck like this, you need to have a plan of what you're going to do to score points. If you're going to buy green cards, you need to make sure your deck isn't going to completely fall apart once you've bought enough of them to probably win the game. If it's not buying green cards, well, maybe you can get VP tokens, or maybe you can just get all your points in one humongous turn, and then the game ends, and you never have to play with the wrecked deck that has all those green cards in it. Doesn't matter what your plan is, as long as you have a plan, and it's, well, hopefully a good plan. So hopefully this video will get you to consider the importance of trashing and the benefits it can have on your deck. A very thin deck is a pretty good thing to have, and usually when you have the option of going for a thin deck with some kind of strong trashing available, as long as there's something cool you can do with your turns, it's usually a good idea to pursue that. Well, thanks for watching this video, and the next one will be the last in the Dominion 102 video series. See you then!